an argument, which is a very high level skill, not just in terms of thinking, but also in writing. We broke that process down, and we put elements of it in 8th grade, 7th grade, 6th grade, all the way back into 5th grade. If you go into our 5th grade social studies curriculum, you'll see a question that says, who started the Boston Massacre? And the kids have to answer it by looking at a number of historical documents and images that are age appropriate and translated for them, but gets them on that track of the higher order thinking skills and the writing ability they need to get up to AP type level. If you go into middle school, you'll also see document-based questions in the social studies curriculum. And as we are rolling out the new advanced courses in middle school, we're specifically highlighting those skills for teachers to make sure that they teach those elements to get students prepared for AP. If you do a similar analysis of assessments in English, you'll see that the types of questions and questioning and the levels of text, they're in all the assessments going back in our English curriculum back into 5th and 6th grade. So that's the type of back mapping that we did for curriculum.
We're less than halfway home. And during that same period of time, we've had 3 different state testing programs. They are no way to be equated with what he just put out to you. They're filling the bubble, and they take a lot of time. So it's not only teacher training capacity, it's having to do 2 or more things at once. And so where we would like to be and where we are, yes, we're very good at, at what we're doing, but we're less than halfway home. I think you can judge that by the level of angst that you get from parents on the gifted and talented thing. We want to have a great gifted and talented program. You don't get as much angst when you get to the high school, because these programs are there, they're accessible, our science programs produce about as many Intel scholars as anybody in the country, if not more. Our math programs and our history programs, and you just take a look at it, because you have a real robust variety of high-end. But where you run into problems is that isn't the same coalition of programs at the elementary. And therein lies, how do you build those? And that's where we should have our language programs. But that's where our language programs are lacking. And they're there, but they're not scalable, if you will. I mean, we don't have wide numbers that we'd like to, even though we have one of the biggest language programs in the country. And it is time. We run into the time factor at the elementary and the middle school, and the structure of just how you have to structure the day and what is required.
Mr. Barclay, I'm going to let you jump in. Or did you not have your light on?
No, I do. I'm sorry. I was writing something. I had a question about access to classes. I think it's very clear that any student can access an AP course in high school. Could I get some clarification on how a non-IB student would access, or can a non-IB student access a course, let's say TOK, Theory of Knowledge, kind of that core course for the IB? I mean, what are the mechanisms there available to students in high school specifically?
Right now it varies. Most of our high schools will schedule in a student into TOK if the student is not an IB student. However, some of our schools are developing their program, and as they're trying to develop the teachers and build the program, they're trying to build a certificate model so that the teachers become proficient in it, and that they're learning the full standard of the IB program. As we grow the programs, we try to switch them to making sure that more and more students have access. And the way to do that is to make sure that in the pre-IB or the MYP that there's a large number of students who are being prepared so that when they go into that level of program, they're going to be ready for it. So as part of our goal in terms of the big plan is to kind of, we're regrouping from this tremendous era of growth, which we focused heavily on getting buildings and programs authorized. Now we're trying to go back and redouble our efforts on how can we make sure the quality, access, and infrastructure are all there. So we're going back looking at redoubling our efforts on professional development. We're going back looking at access issues like you're talking about so that we can make sure that every student who wants to take one of these courses can get in it. Then we're also looking at how are we going to build out so that if we do go into an era of when the money is available again, that we can grow in a manner where we're not just keeping up with the authorization process.
All right, in light of the time, I'm going to take the prerogative to ask the last question, which is, this has been a great conversation, so let me not forget to thank all of you before I ask my question. Talk to me a little bit about in fitting this into the larger picture. So we have these AP offerings and we're growing them. We have these IB offerings and we're growing them. I was struck by, as Ms. Parkin was talking about the whole school concept in middle years program, that she was talking about we're teaching the MCPS curriculum, but we're talking about inquiry and we're talking about reflection. So my question that I'd like to hear any of you comment on is, so how do we then take those lessons and introduce rigor that doesn't have to be in an AP or an IB class, so that we're really talking about access for students across the board?
Yeah.